Hi everyone, it's Lauren here. Today I've got a little guest on my channel. This is my mum, Teresa.
Hi. Hello.
She's very nervous. She doesn't normally come in any video, so if she seems a bit nervous, that's why. Today we're going to be talking about something that I've never actually spoken about before, because I feel like that, I don't know, I've always been a bit worried to speak about it, and I just thought after watching something on telly last night related to it that I would talk about it with my mum, because she was unfortunately the person that had to live through it all with me, and so I thought it would be best if she was here with me, so that anyone that is going through a difficult time at the minute or anything like that can kind of relate to us maybe a little bit, and maybe it will help you and give you some motivation and encouragement for the future. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking to you about OCD, which is a condition called obsessive compulsive disorder. And I suffered from OCD when I was 10.
Well, yeah, just after your 9th birthday, but you weren't diagnosed until you were 10, nearly 11.
Maybe 11, yeah. So basically, I used to be called like a Doris when I was younger. I used to be, people used to say I was like a granny, but because I'd like watch like One Foot in the Grave and things like that, I never used to really worry as much, I don't think, did I, when I was really young?
Well, you did compared to other kids. You did sort of worry about things that you didn't really need to worry about, but we sort of made a joke of it because that was just your way really, from even when you were sort of 3, 4 really.
Yeah. So I was always kind of known as a Doris, still am. And then when I was 9, my parents broke up, and
well, it was just after your 9th birthday in October 2002, and it started really the first weekend it was that you were supposed to be going to stay with your dad, and it just so happens that weekend there was a fireman's strike. Do you remember that? And I was going to be at home, obviously, on my own, and Lauren said to me, as she was going off to her dad's, but what happens if there's a fire? You'll be here on your own, there'll be no one to wake you up. So I just simply turned around to you and said, oh, that's what the smoke alarm's for, Lauren, don't worry. And what did you say? You said, but does it work? So obviously Lauren was feeling very insecure and everything about the fact that her dad and I had just broken up. So me thinking I was reassuring her, said, I'll test the smoke alarm. So she said, does it work? So I said, I'll test it and show you. So up the ladder I go, tested it, she was fine. She went off to her dad's. Had several phone calls that first weekend. Anyway, then you came back. Do you remember? And then it was...
I kind of remember bits. I remember the fire strike, and I remember saying that.
And then you said to me at bedtime that first night back, is the smoke alarm still working? So I said, yes, of course it is. But you said, can you test it?
Can you check, yeah.
So I checked it. And this went on for a couple of days, and then it was the back door, I think.
I think I can't remember what it was on to next. But it would be like the back door or the front door, and I'd be like, I remember just having like a feeling, and I was like, what happens if the front door's not locked? Then somebody can come in and it's just me and my mum here, and I was like, oh my god, something's going to happen. So I remember in my head thinking that I had to get my mum to check it, but I had to see it for myself. So first of all, obviously she'd be like, I know that the fire alarm's working, but it wasn't good enough for me. Like, I had to see it, and I had to know whether it was working or whether it wasn't working. And I had to be like, can you check the front door? And I'd go in and I'd pull the handle down like 5-10 times, go back, and then I'd be like, no, I just need to check that it's locked again. And then that was the next thing, I guess.
And then before long, within a matter of, I think it was only a couple of months, the checklist was taking 30 minutes at bedtime.
Yeah.
It's a kettle.
I remember
the kettle unplugged.
Yeah. The candles blown out, and I'd...
Even if I hadn't had any candles, because I am a bit of a candle freak, even if I didn't have any candles in the house, or even if we had some of it, they hadn't been lit, I'd have to go around and check the candles. But Lauren you had a particular order, didn't you? That everything had to be... It
was like all the plugs had to be turned off, all the doors, like the back door, then the front door, all the windows were locked, all the phone charger plugs or plug sockets were turned off.
Because we had an integral garage. So
Yeah.
that door had to be locked. Is the cat in?
Oh yeah, the cat had to be.
But
I
even
can't remember
then,
what
I
else.
don't think either of us, I'd never had any dealings with OCD whatsoever. All I
No.
thought I was doing was reassuring Lauren that everything was, which obviously is
Yeah, like as a parent, yeah.
as her mum, that's all I wanted to do. Anyway, it went on, didn't it, for a long time, and obviously it did used to get me down because I was sort of obviously going through the same things as Lauren, but handled it differently with the breakup of our family. And then a couple of my friends had said to me, "Oh God, you need to stop doing that. I couldn't put up with that, blah blah blah." And I then sort of thought, obviously not knowing anything about it at all, I thought, do you know what, this is getting ridiculous.
But before that, I just also things that I would do is when I'd go to my dad's house I'd go every other weekend, and when I'd go to his house, I'd take a little notebook with me, and I will find it. I tried to find it for the video because I wanted to show you, but my house is a bit of we're in the middle of clearing everything out, so I'll have to find it and show you. But I used to write down loads of little notes, and it would be like, it sounds ridiculous, but if I like drove past like a deer or something, or the most random things, like if I saw, I don't know, if I saw something that in my head I had to write it down so I didn't forget to tell my mum, and it would be like, it could be something so random like, oh, I'd be out for a day with my dad and I'd see something, or I'd be like, oh, I saw something that was funny, but it wasn't, it was just the most randomest thing. Like, it could be like, oh, I saw a number plate that had like my initial on it. Honestly, it could be anything. It could be like, I saw a sheep, I saw, I had this for my dinner.
Yeah, and I didn't eat all my dinner.
Yeah, I didn't eat all my dinner.
I forgot to tell my mum that I had some crisps.
Yeah, it would literally be like loads of little bubbles on a page, and if there was no space, then I'd write it really small, and then I'd call my mum, and if I hadn't gone through everything...
the mobile phone.
What part? Oh, the calls.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we forgot. Because she used to go to her dad's every other weekend, then. And her dad would let her call me, but obviously Lauren wanted to call me more. So we bought you a mobile phone. Well, I bought you a mobile phone. Bearing in mind, it hadn't quite got to the
Nokia...
What was it? A Nokia? Was it a Motorola?
Oh, Motorola. A Motorola.
Anyway, it was actually a couple of months. Yeah, it was your first Christmas without your dad. So actually before the list got quite long. So I gave, again, thinking I was reassuring, I gave Lauren the phone and said, you can call me, there's credit on there, because it was always pay as you go then, and you can call me anytime you want. And boy, did she call me. I don't know, sometimes, this isn't a joke, is it? Sometimes 40 times a day. And it would be, oh, I forgot to tell you this, or I forgot to tell you that. Did you check this? Did you check that? Are you going to bed now? Are you doing this? And it was constant, wasn't it? And then one funny...
The way you talk about your holiday?
Yeah. I was going on a weekend, I mean the girls, if they're watching this, any of them, my friends, we were going on a girly weekend to Lorette de Mar. And Lauren was staying at her dad's. And all the way to the airport, Lauren was phoning. Are you there yet? Are you there yet? Mum, are you there? No, Lauren, I'm not there yet. Text me when you get, ring me when you get there.
And Mum has asthma as well, and I'd always be like, have you got your inhaler? Is your inhaler in your handbag? And I remember being like, have you got your inhaler to take on the plane? Have you got, I can't even remember.
But it was like, have you checked in yet? And we were in the queue, and it was like 2 minutes later. Hi Mum, have you checked in yet? No, Lauren, I'm fine, and I'll phone you when we've checked in. Ring, ring. No, hello Lauren. No, we're not checked in yet. So anyway, this went on, and we were getting closer and closer and closer to the lady that checks you in, and at the check-in, and she looked round and laughed at my friend and said, "Oh, man trouble," and they said, "No, daughter. It's her daughter." But you know, we joke about it now, but obviously that whole, I would have said she phoned me 25 times.
And also,
in that queue.
If I was waiting for my dad to pick me up, I remember he used to pick me up at 5, and sometimes he'd be late, and I remember...
Sometimes.
Yes, Dad, now I know where I get my sometimes bad timekeeping from. No, I'm only kidding, but I'd ring him, and because of like signal, I didn't really understand, I kind of did understand, but if his phone went to voicemail, I'd panic, and I'd be like, is that okay, like why is Dad not answering, and then he'd turn up and it would be fine and I'd be okay again, but then there'd be something else that I'd worry about, like I'd be on the way to my dad's, and I'd be worrying about my
I was
mum.
going to say, I think your issues were more around me, and we'll talk about that a bit later when you had your counselling.
Yeah.
But anyway, to cut a long story short, from there, I decided this particular night, because I'd had a couple of people saying to me, and obviously they weren't aware how serious the problem was. And this particular night, I thought, you know what, I'm not doing it. I'm going to say no. So it came to bedtime. Lauren was getting ready for bed. She'd gone up and she said, Mum, and I said, no, Lauren, I'm sorry, but we're not doing this anymore. There's no need to check. I'm here, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, even then, I still didn't know. Anyway, so up she went to bed. And by this time, she was crying. And I felt really, really guilty. And I could hear her sobbing upstairs. And I probably, it seemed like ages and ages, but it probably was only about 20 minutes, I suppose. Yeah. And she was sobbing uncontrollably. I could hear her. I turned the TV up and I thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have to go. And I went upstairs to you, and I'm not kidding you. I felt so bad. Your hair was absolutely soaked, like you'd had a shower. And she was distraught. She was sweating. In fact, you actually looked like you'd had a shower. I felt terribly guilty by this time. And that's actually when I knew...
We look ridiculous, crying.
But I knew then that it was something more serious, that we needed some help. So we went along to the GP, didn't we? And I had a female, Dr. Hume, was my doctor, that's our doctor, and she was absolutely fantastic. And she actually referred us to the Frimley Child Centre.
Right, it's not there anymore.
No, but another thing that's been taken away, facility. But we got to speak to someone, and well, it was pretty straight away, wasn't it, really? They decided that what Lauren had was OCD. Apparently it's quite common with girls when their family separate, they said. And they decided that, it's quite... And also, because your dad had left and he had a woman to go to, and I was at home on my own, that made it more...
I knew that he had someone there if anything was to happen, and
yeah.
I think...
So when you went to your dad's, you knew that as much as I had my friends, and obviously Lauren's 2 elder brothers, but they didn't live at home at the time, she panicked more about me, worried more about me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you had, was it CBT they call it? How do you say it?
I don't think it's CBT, it's cognitive therapy basically. So we'd go, wouldn't we? I'd go, I was in year 7 at this point, I think. Just starting in secondary school. So I used to go to my appointments. Sometimes I'd have to miss like half an hour or something of school at the end of the day to go. And I remember you had
to write a list. Do you remember?
I had to write a list of everything
of importance.
I did. But I remember I don't know how. I have a vivid memory of having one of my sessions with her, and it was almost like she was trying to wind me up. She was like, "But you're not going to do that tonight. Why? Why do you need to ask your mum what she's had for dinner? It's because you want to know that she's eaten, isn't it?" And I remember being like, "No." And in the end, I remember thinking, "Why are you trying to like upset me?" But in the end, obviously it worked. But
no, but what she
was trying to like make me see.
No, do you remember you had to write a list?
Yeah.
And then you had to
but before I had to write the list, like she was just kind of explaining to me why I felt like...
Well, you used to catastrophise, that's what she called it. That was it,
yeah, catastrophise.
And you used to imagine all sorts would happen if you didn't do these particular checks.
Things that probably most people would never even think of.
But you would remember, you would never sleep at anyone's house. Yeah. It was always...
Well, just before I go on to this, how we kind of moved on, I went in year 7, or it might have even been year 8, I went on a school trip with my friends to Bude, and if they're watching this they will remember this so clearly. There was 8 of us in a room, and I kind of had told them bits about my OCD, but they probably didn't really understand it. But we got there and I had a middle bunk bed, and I had a big suitcase, and I was adamant that my suitcase had to go behind the door. So my friend Katie was like, "Why don't you move it to over here? Like, it'll be fine over there. Like, nothing's going to happen." And I was like, "No, it has to stay there." And it would be such a pain for them. The poor girls would open the door and have like this massive case there, and I was adamant that they couldn't move it, and then I remember we'd had like loads of sweets, and they were just gonna like bin the rubbish, and I made them keep it in this one drawer. I have no idea why, because I've never done that sort of with anything really. I made them keep all the sweet wrappers in this drawer, and we'd go to sleep at night, and I had an irrational fear of being the last one awake, and I'd be like, night girls, and the girls literally would laugh their head off about it when they watched it.
It was like the Waltons.
They were like, Lauren, night. But in my head I was like, night. Is anyone still awake? Like, night. And I look back now and I find it so... I just find it crazy that I was in that situation. And we do laugh about it now, but at the time...
You were very unhappy, Lauren.
And there was one time, like, everyone else wasn't allowed to take a mobile phone with them, and I wasn't allowed to either, but my PE teacher, Miss Hunt, she like coordinated the trip, and she'd like spoken to my mum, and we agreed that I could have one phone call with my mum when I was away. And I just remember like going into the toilet and just crying because I think I asked my friend to borrow her phone or something because one of them snuck their phone in and they had no credit left, and I had like a fear that I couldn't speak to my mum, and I just broke down. I remember just bursting into tears and being like worrying that something had happened, and that obviously I think that must have just been maybe a few sessions in. It can't have been,
no,
because obviously I was still quite bad.
Yeah, but you had to. Do you remember you had to write down what you felt was the most important?
So she said to write down a list of like
the whole
from the
checklist
top being like most important and the bottom being like the least important in my opinion. So.
And you had to deduct one.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Every night.
You had to choose. No, not every night.
Or every week maybe.
Every week, because it took 18 months. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't
one a
that
night.
quick.
18 days.
One a night. No, it was.
No, but
you had to, and then we had to go back to her, and she would say to you, right, so you didn't look under the bed.
Yeah.
So what happened, Lauren? Because you didn't look under the bed, did anything bad happen?
And I'd obviously go in and I'd be like, no, nothing happened.
So it sounds really simple, but it was a really long process.
Yeah.
And it was it was heartbreaking for me because you didn't want to go anywhere with your friends. You panicked. The phone calls even...
I do look back and I feel like I missed out on so much.
Yeah.
Because my friends would have sleepovers and I'd be like, I don't know, in my head I'd probably say to them or something that I didn't feel very well or something, but in my head I'd be so... I just physically couldn't do it. Like, I'd be worried that something would happen or that like mum would be left on her own. And
do you remember when I used to work nights and used to stay at Auntie Rosalind's?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you used to be like it a bit there.
Yeah, I feel like...
And that was probably a year on.
Yeah.
From when you were diagnosed.
Although, like, obviously the therapy was amazing and stuff, but I still feel like it did still... Well, we know it took 18 months. It still took a long time.
It took a long time, and the trouble... And it was really good for me, too, because obviously it's really difficult for any mums out there that has gone through a similar thing. You do what you think is right, because... You were upset, and as a mum, you just want to take that pain or upset away. So I felt really bad because I felt like I fed into something that I didn't know anything about, and I did, obviously. But I thought I was doing the right thing for Lauren. We know a lot more about it now, and I can honestly say I never ever thought you would go to university, never. To go away from home, and that's why I am so very proud of you, because I know you had your issues when you were even at university.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, I wish, like now, when I was at uni, I honestly, the first year of uni, you'd have probably never known that I'd ever had OCD. We were living in a shared block, and I'd go out, I'd lock my door, that would be it. I wouldn't have to stand there checking it was locked, and I felt so. And I look back, even now, I left uni. I started uni 5 years ago.
I left a year ago.
I left a year ago and started 5 years ago, and even 5 years ago, I didn't have I was like so carefree. I didn't actually. That would be a point when I'd say it sort of completely went. Although like my first year and second year, I'd say my OCD had definitely sort of.
I think it started to come back
and then
in the
with the stress
year.
of like my work and I had really I was really poorly with my chest. Like the house was a bit damp, and I was quite poorly, and then I feel like it would come creeping back in a little bit. Like I'd have to check that my straighteners were definitely unplugged before I left the house. So I think it was like definitely brought back a little bit by stress. Like,
well, you went off to Disney, didn't you? You did your placement.
Yeah, I did my placement in London at Disney, and I don't really feel like it was that bad or anything. I feel like again
you would have very strange. I mean, people wouldn't see it as OCD, it would just be Lauren's ways. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Just with the way you were about particular things. You still would have that little worrying
Yeah, I feel
phase,
like,
not so much the check-in.
but nothing as bad as it
No.
was. Like,
No.
I've not, like,
No.
luckily,
Well, you wouldn't have
touch
gone
wood,
to university.
yeah, I
Never.
feel like I've not ever sort of got back to that stage, but I have noticed that recently, like, little things are creeping back in, and I don't know if it's like where I've like left my full-time job maybe, and that's because it's a little bit uncertain, like you're taking a risk, like maybe that's kind of brought it on. But I'm now like sort of checking. I lock my car and I double check that it's locked. I do check my straighteners, don't I? I'm like, can you check the straightener unplugged and the candles are off? But that, I feel like that's...
I think a lot of people are like that though, with
Yeah.
straighteners, because I think it's because you know what would happen if you did leave the straighteners on. I mean,
I do
that's-
feel like though that counselling, like obviously when I had the treatment, I feel like it did change my life.
Definitely,
And I was
mine.
I was a lot more I was a lot more relaxed, and I'd go to my dad's and I wouldn't really I'd still speak to my mum obviously, but not that much. And
You'd still phone, wouldn't you?
and I like went to Magaluf with the girls when we were in
Yes,
college, and
yeah.
I literally didn't.
Nuki?
There was not one bit. Yeah, Nuki when I was 16. I did not have 1 ounce. Actually, not 1 ounce of OCD in that period. And then, so for those like few years, it was just amazing because it had just completely gone. And then,
I
obviously,
think maybe
uni.
when you had your exams, did you not get a little bit?
I don't think I did.
No.
At uni, I think when like, the pressure came in and I was like, I'm here to get a degree and I need to get this, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I feel like it started to creep back in a little bit then, but I do
think
control it a lot
people
more.
respond like Zach.
Like Zach
Um,
obviously didn't know me when I had my OCD, and even for like the first 2 years of uni, he didn't know me. So I did have to kind of say to him, like recently when I could tell myself, I was like, if I say to you, can you check the door's locked? Just say no, and just say don't, and just like sort of dismiss it and
Well, we
change
changed
the
this.
subject.
I was going to say
Yeah.
we distract Lauren a lot now, and I do, especially because obviously we've been through this together because we were living at home, just the two of us. There was no one else.
And I also feel like I just feel like now that I can recognise it myself, whereas obviously when I was younger,
and
I
your
couldn't.
friends, your close friends, are very good, aren't they?
Yeah.
They sort of know.
But it's just, it can be little things, like, obviously it was to do with the whole checking and everything, but I also am very self-conscious, like, being a blogger and putting so much of your life on Instagram and stuff, people probably think, oh, she looks really confident and this and that, and obviously I post photos and everything and I probably come across as, like, really super confident, but, like, I don't really like going to the shop on my own, and I do a lot more now, but before I'd be like, oh, Zach, can you come with me, or Amber, and I'd
Or
ring
the
my
train.
friends, or whatever.
The train when you.
Yeah, but I feel like...
That's where uni was. You had no option, I think.
Yeah,
to
like
come
uni
home
did
on
help
the
me.
train.
My friends would be like, actually, I do remember some of my uni friends. I think Claire, you'll probably remember. I'd be like, oh, can I meet you to walk to uni and stuff? And obviously, you do that anyway. Like, you always meet your friends to walk to uni or whatever if you've got like the same lesson. But I feel like I could notice it creeping back in a little bit, but because I
You
can
would phone,
recognise
wouldn't
it,
you?
yeah.
She would always phone me while
I
she
was
was
walking
walking.
somewhere,
If
yeah.
she was walking anywhere.
It was just like a comfort thing. I think that like
Yeah.
it comes across in different ways. Like sometimes I can feel really self-conscious. Sometimes I need to check that the straightening's on. But regardless of all of that, like it's something I've never spoken about because I feel like I don't want people to think that I'm like.
Well,
I don't
because
want it to come across like I feel like there's such a stigma around it, and I don't want people to think, oh, she's
think
one of
that
these people that.
there is a stigma, I think, but also I think people assume because mental health issues are being taken more seriously now that everyone thinks they've got a mental. There are people that think they have a mental health issue and are jumping on the bandwagon. This is the perception from some people, but
Yeah,
I
so
don't
I feel
think
like
it's
there's
that at all. I think it's that you are. It seems. You are allowed to say. You feel a bit more able to talk.
Yeah, whereas I've never
a bit
talked
more
about
able.
it. I
Sorry,
feel like,
to talk.
like Mum said, like there is like a perception that people are just like, oh, another one, and I think that's quite upsetting because, like for me,
You've never spoken about yours.
yeah, I've never spoken about it, and it was only the programme last night. What was it called?
My life. My.
It was on Channel 5. I'll link
OCD life, wasn't it, or
something,
like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
But
And,
it was. Yeah.
and I watched it, and the poor girl that was going around checking the doors were locked. She was going like 1, 2, 3, 4. That is exactly what I was like, and I feel like.
It
Why
was
shouldn't
really
I talk about it?
upsetting, wasn't it?
Like as much as I like to keep some things, like as much as I've always wanted to keep it to myself because I don't want to be judged on it or anything. I feel like why shouldn't I speak about it? Like there's probably so many other people that are exactly the same, and and I feel like I have come out the other end. Like, if I can't imagine what I'd be doing if I never had counselling, and if I...
But I mean, me too, because obviously I wanted to help you, but every single night it was very draining,
quite draining
for me.
Yeah,
because
and my friends, like,
I'd go to work all day, I'd come home, and I'd used to dread bedtime.
Yeah,
because I knew.
But I feel like my friends as well, like, they only got to see it for a week on that trip, but even then that drained them. And I look back now and I was like, I don't know, like, it feels like it was a different person, although I still have bits where it creeps back in. I feel like I was just a different person. Like, I can't imagine. I feel like I still worry about little things, but, like, I think that's just because, like I said, I've been a Doris. My nickname is Doris, everyone calls me that, so I feel like that will always just be a bit of me. Like, maybe I just worry a little bit more than the average person. But in terms of the OCD, like, yeah, if anyone, I don't know, if somebody is watching this and maybe feels like that's what they do, or...
It is so important, because if I'd have recognised it,
yeah,
or knew what was going on inside Lauren's head a little bit. Obviously, I knew she was upset. Her family had just been broken up, so I knew all of that, and I thought I was doing the best thing for her by checking everything. But within, like I say, it was a matter of a month or so, the checklist, and it had to be done.
Like, shrunk.
Yeah, and if you forgot one thing, I couldn't just go back and do that one thing.
It had to be everything.
Yeah. So I think it's so important, if anyone is recognising any of these little things that we've mentioned, is to go to the GP and pursue it.
But definitely. I feel like you shouldn't be afraid either. Like,
no.
Even like public figures like David Beckham, even, like, people like that, they've come out about it and they've spoken about it, and it's something that should be spoken about. And it has genuinely, my life would be a lot different now if I didn't. Well, I was lucky that obviously my parents realised what I was doing wasn't sort of normal for me, especially.
But it was, I think, even if we hadn't have left you that night, if I hadn't have left you, the state that you were in is when I realised, oh my God, this isn't just some habit that she's got into. It was. Like,
I think people can't get their head around the fact that literally, if you don't do it, you can't. It's not a decision. You literally have to check. You can't just think. You can't just roll over and go to sleep and be like, you literally. It
was like a little gremlin. She described it, wasn't she?
It was like there was a voice in my head that was like, Lauren, you have to do this, otherwise this is going to happen. Or Lauren, if you don't go and check the door, somebody's going to come in, and it would be things like that. And it was the most strangest thing. But I do feel like now that I've watched that programme and now I have, like, maybe discussed it, I feel like a weight's been lifted off, because I feel like actually I can speak about it. And so what if people know? Because
but you're coming into contact with other people now that don't know you as well. So now that if they're watching this video, they might and things happen because you've been away on a blogger trip and what have you. So if any of them see any of these little things, they're not going to think any, not any worse of you, or think it's odd. You know, they've got a bit more of an insight into what you have been through. And like I said, for you to go to university, I mean, never in a million years did I think.
I think, and even like last year when I was in my final year of uni, I went to there was like a lot of stress going on. Like, I was writing my dissertation, and my boyfriend's mum had passed away, and obviously I saw him and his family, and obviously myself, really upset. And I was trying to finish uni, and I was trying to find a graduate job, and all of these things that come together. I ended up going to see a counsellor local. It was obviously a different one, and I just went to see her for 2 sessions, and I just said to her, like, I feel like my worry and my OCD is coming back. And she gave me like a sheet, and on there it would say when you're getting these, like, unwanted thoughts, as they call it. So basically, whatever my thought was, have I got any evidence of that happening before? So it would be, I don't know, this is going to happen, and she'd say to me, but have you got evidence of this happening in the past? And I'd say no, and she'd be like, okay, so that's an unwanted thought, you can push it to the side. And you wouldn't think that, like, 2 pieces of paper could help you so much. And I literally went for 2 sessions with her, and it completely cleared my mind, and I was able to sort of just get back to normal. But I feel like it is probably something that would always be in the back of my mind. Like, when I have children, I'm probably going to be panicking about something, but I feel like as long as you recognise it and you do something to help yourself, then you can't really go wrong. And don't be afraid to, like, tell your friends and tell people close to you what maybe you're going through, because they obviously don't understand. They won't understand unless they've gone through it themselves, but they'll be prepared to help you. And I feel like now we'd recognise if there was somebody we knew in the family or something that maybe had like OCD traits or
100%
actions. But so yeah.
Well done, Doris.
Oh God, I don't want to stop being called Doris now. But I am glad I spoke about it. It was like something really upsetting, and I hope you maybe have found this interesting. And some of you, like my new friends, maybe you might be thinking, oh, so that's why she worries a lot. You may like, it may like connect things now, but yeah, I'm glad I've spoken about it. And if any of you want to ask me any questions or anything, then just message me, or I don't know if you.
There is a couple of
I think there's a few websites and
Twitter
stuff
as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so I'll put them below if you want to read into it a bit more and find out a bit more about what it's about, because there's loads of different forms of it. But yes, I'm glad I spoke about it. So thank you for watching.
Oh, my voice sounds terrible.
I finally got mum on a video, but yeah. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon.
Bye.
Bye.